fine today, just as it was in the past. Rich is really not the past, because what's going on today is still what went on in the past is still going on today, based upon politics, religion, sociology, the social order. You know what? I found out today by going around, this economic system is so broken right now. So many people are in dire strait right now. Now you have this whole COVID thing that's trying to return, and when you see the people out in the fields, it puts them in the position because they're afraid to submit to a whole lot of things that they really shouldn't, because it's not going to benefit them in any shape, form, or fashion concerning their present condition. There's a whole lot of preaching that's going on out here that's not really giving anyone any answers, and therefore any resolve to their lives. It's almost like sitting at a table eating food from imaginary food from an empty plate. And this was one of my primary concerns when I was working with a brother who was, to my understanding, didn't have the proper focus on what should be talked about out here concerning what's going on in the world. There's a whole lot of people that are more concerned about sitting at a table, going back and forth, debating one another to see who understands the scriptures better than the other one. And you have all of these people sitting at these tables for hours, going back and forth behind information that has already been contaminated for thousands of years. And when you're dealing with this type of information, it doesn't do anything but cause a whole lot of discord, between one another. And becoming brothers and executing a brotherhood is pretty much not possible, because you're going to be at these tables going back and forth with one another. And unfortunately, because of the difference in opinions, a whole lot of these the gatherings, you might as well say, that these brothers are not going to separate in peace. I've seen this plenty times. I've been telling brothers all the time, the difference in opinion is what the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is. The knowledge of good and evil is a dual constitution, to where you have perceptions and philosophies and all of those different aspects of information that's going to always clash between one another. This is why Yeshua said, except a man be born again in spirit. The people may say, well, that came from knowledge. But it's liberating you from knowledge, the common knowledge that's going to have men battling one another. Look at what's going on over there in Palestine right now. All of that is behind the difference of opinions written down through some information that people put together, and they put it in books, and all of these, everything that's going on right now is because of the difference in opinion, because information has been contaminated. Information has been contaminated. My whole thing is, when are we going to get to the point to where we can have a difference in opinion and sit at the table so that we all can come together and we can work towards that one understanding? But you never get there because of the difference in opinion. And information has been designed to separate mankind. It always has. This is the reason why the Creator was telling them, if you consume this knowledge of good and evil, then you will die surely. You will surely die. And look at the world today. Look at how many friendships have broken up simply because of information. Now, sooner or later, I'm going to talk about the experience that I had at Exalt Ministries back in between 1999 and the year, you might as well say like 2002, because that's how long that I was in touch with this particular group of people. But the whole thing is, when you all come together to do something for the greater good, which surpasses what the world asserts is good, what I've noticed in my study is that people who are on the common level, when they have misunderstandings, all it takes is a spear of time in order to kill the situation. And when you see these people come back together, it's nothing but love there and resolve, and all of their differences have been forgotten, and it's just only love there. But what I've noticed when it comes to ministry and when it comes to areas of the church and different ministries in terms of religious differences, there is no resolve there. No resolve there. You know, I was not too long ago taking a walk up at Sunset Park, and the young lady who I used to love, and she used to love me, out of Exalt Ministries, this was a few months ago. So I was up there taking a walk, but I wasn't taking a walk at this time that it happened. But I was sitting in my car and I was getting my thoughts together. And this young lady comes up, and for some strange reason, my car parked right directly next to hers, but her Jeep was like on the other side, and it was off ahead on the right-hand side. And so she came out, she went into her Jeep or truck or whatever it was. She looked at me, she had sunglasses on. She looked at me, she opened up, and she got something out of her vehicle, and she slammed the door real hard, and she just stormed off. And I'm like, what did I do? You know, you ask stupid questions like that. And the reason why I say those questions are stupid is because you know that you haven't done anything. And not only to this particular individual, but people within that whole experience. And so what I've noticed is that when it comes to the so-called spiritual world, when things end, it goes into death. It doesn't end in a wounded sense. It ends in death, to where no one speaks to one another anymore. I mean, even if you come together as a ministry or a brotherhood or a sisterhood, and if it doesn't work out, it shouldn't end in hatred, because the only thing that is revealed is that hatred was always the intention, you know, and hatred was always the drive from the beginning. And this is one of the reasons why it ended as such. But what I've noticed in the so-called world, the people out here in the world, it's easy for them to resolve their differences. I seen that today when I was walking. Me and another brother was walking through the West Side, and we was just shown a whole lot of things. You know, we saw some brothers who hadn't seen each other in years, and we listened to their conversation. We've listened to a whole lot of conversations today, you know, and for some reason, the spirit of resolve was flowing through the West Side. And so we saw a whole lot of people who were resolving their differences. And none of these people were church members. But in the religious world, you've given yourself to some information to the point to where there's no love there. Because when you have your differences based upon your perception and viewpoint of this particular information, whether it's Christianity, Catholicism, Islam, or whatever the case may be, it ends in death. I've seen a brother went back and forth with a young man sitting at their dinner table, and simply because they had a difference of opinion, it ended in death, simply because of information. So there's no love there. There's no resolve there. So it's like for years, everyone has been going their separate ways. And that's fine. You know, sometimes that happens in life. But when the Creator have one another cross each other's path, where's all the hatred coming from? Have you exalted yourself to a state of enlightenment that you still holding on to hatred? Because that doesn't make any sense. And why are you holding on to hatred that wasn't placed there by people in whom you claim that you were serving God with? You know, so when you're dealing with the religious world, you have to be very careful. If not, let it go all. Just totally let it go. Because it seems like these so-called people who are of the world, they are a whole lot more spiritual than people who claim that they're living a spiritual life. So it was a beautiful observation. And I'm going to eventually get around to talking about that experience, because it was a lot in it. You know, it was a lot of false prophecy. It was a lot of racism. It was a whole lot of deception and everything. But today, we walked the community again, and we had a lot of chances to talk to a whole lot of people in the community, and we had a chance to listen to a whole lot of conversations, as I used to do when I was a kid in Chicago. And in spite of the surroundings over there, the people who do not attend churches are in much better spirits than the people that do. So that's going to eventually have to be addressed. But we are in the process now, as I said before. We're teaching people about the United States Constitution and all that consists of, which is somewhat equivalent to what the disciples were talking and teaching the people about back in the days of Rome, when Nero was the emperor, and how the disciples were helping people understand how the common festivities and the games were detrimental to their minds and their souls. You know, and this is another thing that I come in not too long ago realized, because I pulled myself away from boxing, and right now my body is suffering a whole lot of withdrawal, because for so many years my body has been utilized for inflicting brutality on other people, on my brothers, and taking brutality from them. And you know, once your body gets accustomed to that, what hurts most people, it doesn't even phase you. But once you start to pull away from that, and you're no longer in there sparring and brutalizing people and taking brutality, you, like myself, will wake up one morning and your body is going through withdrawal, and it's retaliating against you because you brutalized it for so many years. And so you wake up one day and everything from head to toe hurts. Everything hurts. But you're blessed to understand that your body is going through a physical related withdrawal. And if you talk to a whole lot of boxers, a lot of boxers experience that when they pull away from boxing because their minds have been risen to another state of enlightenment, and you just don't want to brutalize other people anymore, and you don't want people brutalizing you anymore. And once you think about it honestly, and if you look back on your life, you will come to understand how much time that you wasted because you're so caught up in these games. You know, you want to be the champion of the world, and all of those things are great, you know, but when it all boils down to it, those things have very little meaning, because the root motivation of all of that, in spite of how much a whole lot of brothers and sisters enjoy this life, you wouldn't be doing it had it not been a whole lot of money involved. And so that's what the disciples were trying to help the people understand during the days of Rome, when Nero was in charge. And so once they started teaching people the same way that we're going around teaching people about the Constitution of the United States, all of a sudden the disciples were attacked, and they were grouped up and fed to the lions. And so this is one of the reasons why I say what transpired thousands of years ago is still going on right now. What's going on right now? It's the same system. It's the same system. You know, Egypt used to do the same thing. Rome used to do the same thing. And after Rome fell, then you had Great Britain. And out of Great Britain and Spain comes America. And so we're still caught in that cycle of brutality and hatred and different points of views and all of those things. And in time, all of this is going to be resolved. But what it is, a whole lot of people are going to have to come out of their comfort zones and their egos and their wanting to be famous. I had a brother that said, I want to be the greatest evangelist on the planet. And I told him how dangerous that statement is. So you want to be above your peers inside of a lifestyle in which is supposed to not have that type of mentality and drive in it. You know, this lifestyle is supposed to be a peaceful lifestyle. But I totally understand, considering the type of system that we have to live in because of what transpired in history, put us right over here in what is called Babylon. We were born here, and we come up in an environment consciously and yet unconsciously. And as we come up, we conform to a whole lot of things that we shouldn't conform to. But you know, sometimes it takes you more than half your lifestyle to come to understand those things. So I'm gonna move on here and get me some more meditation done, because I was meditating, and I just came out of meditation. I just wanted to share a few thoughts. And things are going to get better, but the only way that things are going to get better, we have to become better human beings. And we can't walk around with all of this hatred built up inside of us simply because we have different point of views. Because when it all boils down to it, if we are observing any information, and if we are left to have different point of views, it's all a lie anyway. Because if it was the facts, then we would we would perceive all of this information one mind, because that's when you're dealing with facts. When you're dealing with falsehood and you're reading something, and if you're sitting in a circle and you're asking one another, what's your take on this? This person gives their point of views. You give your point of views. Everybody have a different point of view, but all at the same time, people will get up and leave and think that they actually realize what the facts are. It's not the facts. Because if we all perceive the facts of things and the truth of things, then we would all get up and we would all have that one perception, that one truth that sits up inside of that information. And we wouldn't leave with conflict, ending brotherhoods and sisterhoods, all of that. So this is why the Creator had told them, eat not. In other words, don't perceive that, don't take that in. The knowledge of good and evil. Good and evil is a constitution of contradiction. And it's a constitution, is a dual constitution. So you're never gonna find out what the facts are, because it's dual. You're always gonna be in this cycle of hatred and disagreement and all of those things. This is why you have to evolve beyond those. This is the reason why he said you have to be born again in the spirit. The renewing of the mind. You can't be afraid. You have to let go of everything that you know currently in order for you to understand what the facts are. And the facts are not something that is written down. You find out what the facts are through your observation of what is without comparisons. That's pretty much all it is. It's not complicated. It's not as complicated as we've been taught it is. It's really not. You know, we've only been made to believe that it's complicated so that we will end up relying upon these lying and deceptive pastors. So with all of this being said, I'm just gonna move on from this. Just wanted to share some thoughts because I need to get back into meditation so I can get some more meditation going on. Because there's a whole lot going on right now. You know, so everyone have a good night. All right. Stay human.